Hyunwoo spent the night in his quarters, unable to sleep. The names from Taemin's skin kept flashing through his mind. Thousands of dead humans. He accessed the collective's historical database and started searching for any mention of Seoul Station. The official report was brief and clinical. Reactor malfunction. Total loss of life. Unfortunate accident. No further details necessary, but now Hyunwoo looked at those words differently. They seemed deliberately vague. He searched for other incidents involving humans over the past 60 years. There were dozens of them. Colony ships that disappeared. Research facilities that had catastrophic failures. Small settlements that went silent and were found empty. Every single report blamed accidents or equipment failure or environmental hazards. Were they all lies? Had the collective been systematically eliminating humans who stepped out of line? In the morning, Hyunwoo returned to the detention level. He carried physical data tablets with him, loaded with historical records. Daehyun tried to stop him at the door. "You got your hour yesterday," the head researcher said. "You discovered that his skin contains text. Useful, but not what we need. Now it is time for more aggressive methods." "Give me one more day," Hyunwoo pleaded. "I think he will talk to me. I think he wants to explain." "Why would he want that?" "Because he is trying to make us understand something. His whole presence here is a message. Let me receive it." Daehyun looked at him suspiciously but eventually nodded. "One day. If you learn nothing useful, we proceed my way." Inside the containment room, Taemin was awake and waiting. He watched as Hyunwoo entered and set down his tablets. "I brought history," Hyunwoo said. "The collective's records. I want to show you something. We have archives going back millions of years. We have helped hundreds of species avoid extinction. We have prevented countless wars. We have guided civilizations from primitive barbarism to enlightened culture. Look at these records. See what we have accomplished." He activated the first tablet, showing images of alien worlds, beautiful cities, advanced technology, happy populations living in peace. Taemin looked at the images without expression. And how many of those species chose their own path? How many were allowed to make their own mistakes and learn from them? How many were given real freedom? "Freedom without wisdom leads to chaos," Hyunwoo said, repeating what he had been taught his whole life. Young species need guidance. They need time to mature properly. "Then let me give you a history lesson in return," Taemin said. "Let me tell you the story that your collective never writes down. The story of what really happened to humanity." Hyunwoo sat down and listened. 240 years ago, Taemin began. Humans finally achieved faster-than-light travel. It was the greatest moment in our history. We thought we were joining something wonderful. We thought the galaxy would welcome us. We sent out ships full of scientists and diplomats and artists. We wanted to learn. We wanted to share. We wanted friends. And we responded peacefully, Hyunwoo said. We made contact. We established communication. You established control, Taemin corrected. Within 1 year of first contact, the Velthara Collective presented humanity with a list of rules. We could settle exactly 12 star systems and no more. We could build ships up to a certain size and no bigger. We could research certain fields of science but not others. We could not develop weapons beyond a certain power level. We could not form military alliances with other species. The list went on and on. Those restrictions were for your protection, Hyunwoo insisted. Young species often destroy themselves. We have seen it happen. Unlimited weapons development leads to war. Unrestricted expansion leads to resource conflicts. We were trying to help. We did not ask for your help. Taemin's voice remained calm, but pain showed in his eyes. We asked to be treated as equals. We asked to make our own choices, even if those choices led to mistakes. But you refused. You said we were too young, too foolish, too dangerous. You said we needed to be controlled for our own good. Hyunwoo thought about this. He had never questioned the collective's policies before. They were presented as obvious truths, as natural as gravity. Of course, younger species needed guidance. It was common sense. But listening to Taemin speak, hearing the pain in his voice, Hyunwoo began to wonder if common sense and truth were always the same thing. For many years, most humans accepted your rules, Taemin continued. They believed what you told them. They believed you were wise. They believed you knew best. But some humans did not accept it. Some wanted to explore beyond the 12 systems. Some wanted to research forbidden science. Some wanted to build something greater than what you allowed. And they were stopped, Hyunwoo said quietly, for their own protection. They were killed, Taemin corrected. The first colony ship that crossed your boundary was called Pioneer. 4,000 people aboard. Your ships intercepted them, ordered them to turn back. When they refused, you disabled their engines. You left them drifting in space. By the time a rescue mission arrived 3 months later, everyone was dead. Starvation. The official report said they violated safety protocols and caused their own accident. Hyunwoo pulled up that incident in his database. The report was there just as Taemin described. He had never thought to question it before. Now he wondered what else might be hidden in plain sight. There were others, Taemin said. Research stations that exploded. Scientists who died in accidents. Colonies that mysteriously failed. Every time humans tried to push past your boundaries, something bad happened. And every time the reports blamed human error or bad luck. Never the collective. Never you. Even if this is true, Hyunwoo said, struggling with the implications. Even if some enforcement was too harsh, it does not justify violence. It does not justify killing Velthara soldiers. Taemin's expression hardened. Soul Station. Those two words hung in the air like a death sentence. I was there, Taemin said quietly. I was 15 years old. My mother worked in the research division. My father taught engineering. My little sister was 10. Soul Station was not just a research facility. It was home to 50,000 people. It had schools and parks and restaurants. It had families. Hyunwoo felt something cold spread through his chest. The research team discovered something incredible, Taemin continued. A new method of energy generation that was clean, unlimited, and most importantly, simple enough that any species could build it. They were going to publish their findings. They were going to share it freely with everyone in the galaxy. It would have broken the collective's monopoly on advanced power systems. So the collective stopped them, Hyunwoo whispered. 4 Velthara warships appeared without warning. They did not send a message. They did not give us time to evacuate. They just opened fire. The station's shields lasted maybe 10 minutes. Then the weapons tore through the hull. Sections depressurized. People were pulled into space. Fire spread through the corridors. I watched my sister die. I held my mother's hand as she suffocated. I survived because I was in a section that sealed automatically. Taemin's voice remained steady, but tears ran down his face. Rescue ships arrived eventually. They found 200 survivors out of 50,000. And do you know what your collective did next? They took us to a medical facility. They treated our injuries. They gave us money and new homes. And they told us it was an accident. They said the station's reactor had malfunctioned. They said they were sorry for our loss. They asked us to sign documents promising never to speak about what really happened. Did you sign? Hyunwoo asked. Yes, I was 15 and alone and terrified. I signed, most of us did. But some did not. Those people disappeared. More accidents. Hyunwoo looked at the patterns covering Taemin's skin. The names. The dates. The memories branded into flesh. That was 60 years ago, Taemin said. I am 75 now. I have spent 60 years fighting your empire. Soul Station was when the burned ones began. We are the survivors and the children of survivors. We are the ones who remember what your collective did. We marked our bodies with fire so we would never forget. We carry the names of everyone you killed. I did not know, Hyunwoo said helplessly. I did not know any of this. I know. Most of your people do not. The collective hides it well. But now you do know. Now you understand what these patterns mean. We are not terrorists. We are not monsters. We are people who watched their families die for the crime of seeking knowledge. And we decided that if your gods would kill us for trying to be free, then those gods needed to burn. Hyunwoo sat in silence, looking at the human prisoner who was really a messenger. A teacher. A warning. Outside the room, Daehyun watched through security cameras. He had heard everything, and he was already sending reports to the Galactic Council, demanding permission to execute the prisoner, before this dangerous truth spread any further. The massive ship called Eternal Judgment moved silently through deep space. Its metal hull stretched for miles, covered in weapons and shields that could destroy entire planets. Inside its cold corridors, alien beings walked with purpose. They were the Velthara, a race that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They believed themselves to be perfect. They believed themselves to be the guardians of all other life. In the deepest level of the ship, behind energy barriers and locked doors, a single prisoner lay unconscious in a glass pod. His name was Taemin, and he was human, His chest rose and fell with slow breaths. His eyes were closed. But what made the alien stare at him was his skin. Strange patterns covered his arms, his chest, his back. They were not simple tattoos. The designs moved and shifted when the light hit them differently. Some parts looked like writing. Other parts looked like symbols. The patterns formed spirals and straight lines, curves and sharp angles. They seemed to tell a story, but the Velthara could not read it. Daehyun stood closest to the pod. He was the head researcher on the ship, responsible for understanding everything they captured. His species had technology that could analyze atoms and read thoughts. They had machines that could translate any language in seconds, but these patterns on human skin made no sense to any of their tools. "Run another scan," Daehyun ordered. His voice was cold and mechanical through his translator device. The machines hummed louder. Beams of light washed over the prisoner's body. Numbers and graphs appeared in the air, floating like ghosts, but the results were the same as before. The patterns had no cellular structure. They were not paint or ink. They were not scars or birthmarks. They existed somehow between states of matter, impossible according to Velthara science. "This is a waste of time," said another researcher. "We should focus on how he destroyed the garrison." Daehyun's long fingers touched the glass of the pod. "The garrison means nothing if we cannot understand what we are dealing with. 5,000 trained soldiers are dead. He killed them alone. These marks are connected to that somehow. They must be. 3 weeks ago, the Velthara had received a distress signal from Keth 7, a dead world they used as a military outpost. When reinforcements arrived, they found bodies everywhere. Weapons melted, walls torn apart. The base computers showed security footage that seemed impossible. One human, this human, had walked through their defenses like they were made of paper. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were a young species, barely 300 years into space travel. The Velthara Collective had placed strict limits on them. Humans could only settle in certain star systems. They could only build certain types of ships. They could only research certain kinds of science. This was for their own good, the Collective said. Young species needed guidance. They needed to be protected from dangerous knowledge until they were ready. But this human had technology that should not exist. He had fought with skills that should have taken centuries to develop. And he had these patterns on his skin that defied all understanding. "Wake him up," Daehyun said. The other researchers looked at each other nervously. "Are you certain? He is extremely dangerous. The containment field will hold. I need to question him." A technician pressed buttons on a control panel. Gas hissed into the pod. The prisoner's breathing changed. His fingers twitched. Slowly, his eyes opened. Taemin looked up through the glass at the alien staring down at him. He did not seem surprised or afraid. He studied them calmly as if he were the one doing the research. Then his eyes found Daehyun. "You are the leader," Taemin said. His voice was clear and strong despite days of unconsciousness. More surprisingly, he spoke in perfect Velthara high tongue, a language humans should not know. "You are the one asking questions about these." He raised his arms slowly, showing the patterns that covered them. Daehyun leaned closer to the glass. "What are they? What do they mean?" "They mean you made a mistake," Taemin replied. "A very big mistake. Explain." "No." The simple refusal shocked the researchers. Prisoners did not refuse the Velthara. They did not have that option. Daehyun's face, which looked almost human but with skin like pale stone, showed no emotion, but his voice grew harder. "We have ways of making you talk. We can reach into your mind and take what we want. We can cause pain beyond your imagination. You can do nothing," Taemin interrupted. "You have tried your neural probes while I slept. They failed. Your chemicals do not work on me. Your machines cannot read these patterns because they were not made with technology you understand. You are confused. You are afraid? Good. You should be." One of the researchers stepped forward angrily. "You are one human. We are the Velthara Collective. We have ruled this galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. You will tell us what we want to know." Taemin's eyes did not leave Daehyun. "I'm not just one human. I am a message, and you received it loud and clear when you found your soldiers dead. We are done being small. We are done following your rules. We are done asking for permission." "Arrogant child," Daehyun said quietly. "Your entire species lives only because we allow it. One order from the Galactic Council and your Earth becomes dust. For the first time, Taemin smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. You keep telling yourselves that. You keep believing you are in control. But these patterns on my skin, they are not weapons. They are not technology. They are memory. They are names. They are proof. And there are thousands like me, marked the same way, moving through your empire right now. You just cannot see us, lies, another researcher said. We would know. Our surveillance covers everything. Does it? Taemin closed his eyes again, leaning back in the pod. Then how did I destroy your base? How did I get captured exactly where I wanted to be? How am I on your most important research ship right now? The researchers looked at each other. Doubt crept into the room like cold air. Daehyun straightened up. Increase security on all levels. Run diagnostics on every system. If there is anything unusual, I want to know immediately. As the aliens rushed to their stations, Taemin smiled again with his eyes still closed. The patterns on his skin seemed to pulse faintly, matching his heartbeat. Deep in the ship's computer systems, hidden in code that the Velthera could not detect, something began to wake up. The message had been delivered. Now the real work would begin. The alarm caught everyone by surprise. It was not a loud emergency siren. It was something worse. A quiet, persistent beeping that meant the ship's main computer had detected an anomaly. Something in the systems was not working correctly. Daehyun rushed from the observation room to the command center. Engineers and technicians crowded around displays, their faces showing confusion and worry. The head of security, a large Velthara named Subin, was already there. What is the problem? Daehyun demanded. Subin pointed to a screen showing the ship's network. We are finding gaps. Small sections of code that do not match our original programming. They are everywhere. In navigation, in life support, in weapons control, even in the detention systems. How long have they been there? We do not know. The computer flagged them 10 minutes ago, but they could have been hiding for days, maybe longer. Daehyun felt ice water run through his veins. He thought about Taemin's words, about how the human had gotten captured exactly where he wanted to be. About how he was on their most important research ship right now. This was not an accident. This had been planned. Lockdown, Daehyun ordered. Full security protocols. No one enters or leaves any section without authorization. And double the guards on the prisoner immediately. Subin started giving orders. Throughout the massive ship, doors sealed. Security teams rushed to their stations. The Eternal Judgment prepared for an internal threat that they did not fully understand. In the detention level, Hyunwoo was still talking with Taemin when the alarm began. The human looked up at the sound, and for the first time he smiled. Not a sad smile or a dangerous smile, a genuinely happy smile. Finally, Taemin said, I was beginning to think they would never notice. Notice what? Hyunwoo asked, suddenly afraid. That I have been in your system since the moment you brought me aboard. Before Hyunwoo could respond, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in after a moment, but it was dim and red. Then the containment pod made a sound like glass breaking. The energy fields holding Taemin collapsed. The locks on the pod door clicked open. Taemin stood up slowly, stretching muscles that had been confined for days. You should step back, he told Hyunwoo. Things are about to get complicated. Please, Hyunwoo said desperately. Do not do this. If you try to escape, they will hunt down every human settlement. They will make your people suffer. They already make us suffer, Taemin replied calmly. And they are not going to hunt us down. Because after today, they will be too busy dealing with much bigger problems. The door to the detention level burst open. 6 Velthara guards rushed in with weapons raised. They shouted orders for Taemin to get back in the pod. The human did not move. Final warning, the lead guard yelled. Taemin touched something on his wrist. It was a small device that had looked like a simple bracelet. Now it lit up with soft blue light. Instantly, all 6 weapons in the guard's hands went dead. The power cells drained completely in 1 second. The guards stared at their useless weapons in shock. I am not here to hurt anyone, Taemin said. I am just here to deliver a message and take something that belongs to me. He walked past the guards. They tried to physically stop him, but the human moved like water. He twisted and ducked and slipped through their attempts to grab him. Within seconds, he was out the door and moving down the corridor. The guards gave chase, but more systems began failing around them. Doors sealed behind Taemin, blocking pursuit. Lights went out in specific sections, creating darkness where he walked. Hyunwoo followed at a distance, unable to stop watching. The human moved through the ship with perfect knowledge of its layout. He knew exactly where to go. He knew exactly when doors would open or close. This was not luck or skill. This was complete control of the ship's systems. In the command center, chaos ruled. Subin shouted orders, but nothing was responding correctly. Weapon systems offline. Navigation compromised. Life support redirecting to some sections and cutting off others. How is this possible? Daehyun demanded. Our systems are the most secure in the galaxy. He has been learning them for 60 years, Hyunwoo said from the doorway. Everyone turned to look at him. The burned ones have been studying you, stealing from you, understanding how you work. This ship is not trapped with him. We are trapped in his trap. On the main display screen, they could track Taemin's movement through the ship. He was heading toward the detention block's lower levels, where they kept prisoners from other species, criminals and rebels that the collective had captured. He is freeing the others, Subin realized. We need to stop him before the screen changed. It was no longer showing the ship's internal map. Instead, it showed files. Classified files. Documents that were supposed to be locked behind layers of encryption and security. And they were opening automatically one after another. Seoul Station, Pioneer Colony Ship, Memphis Station, dozens of other incidents. For each one, there were 2 sets of files. The official reports that blamed accidents and equipment failures, and the real reports that showed Velthara ships firing on unarmed humans. Orders from the Galactic Council to eliminate threats. Execution lists, turn it off, Daehyun screamed. But they could not turn it off. The files kept appearing, kept opening, kept showing their contents to everyone on the ship. Thousands of Velthara crew members were seeing this information at the same time. Some knew about these incidents already. Most did not. The truth spread through the ship like poison. Taemin reached the lower detention cells. There were 3 prisoners there from species that the collective kept suppressed. A Kral warrior with insect features, a crystalline being from the Vesh, a small furry creature from a species Hyunwoo did not recognize. All of them were supposed to be criminals. All of them had challenged collective authority in some way. You are free, Taemin told them as their cells opened. A ship is waiting for us in the hangar bay. It will take you wherever you want to go. The Kral warrior clicked his mandibles together, which was how his people showed gratitude. Why help us? Because my people learned something important, Taemin said. We are not special. Every species that the collective controls has stories like ours. Every species has dead that they need to remember. If we want to be free, we need to help others be free too. They moved together toward the hangar. More guards tried to stop them, but the ship itself seemed to be fighting against the Velthara now. Doors would not open for security teams. Communication systems went silent at critical moments. It was as if the eternal judgment had turned against its creators. In the hangar bay, a small ship sat waiting. It was human-made, sleek and dark. It should not have been possible for it to approach the eternal judgment without being detected. But it had. It had been there for hours, invisible to sensors, waiting patiently. Daehyun arrived at the hangar with a full security team just as Taemin and the freed prisoners reached the ship. The head researcher's face showed rage and desperation. Stop, he shouted. If you leave this ship, you start a war. The collective will not tolerate this. Taemin turned to face him. The patterns on his skin seemed to glow in the hangar lights. The war already started. 60 years ago, you just did not notice because you were winning. But things are different now. We are not asking for permission anymore. We are taking our freedom, and we are helping others take theirs. He touched his wrist device again. All around the hangar, screens lit up with the same message. It was written in every language spoken in the galaxy. To all species kept small by the collective, you are not alone. You are not weak. You are not children who need protection. You are people who deserve freedom. We will help you take it. The fire spreads. Below the message was a set of coordinates. Locations where suppressed species could make contact with the burned ones. Places where they could get help, get weapons, get information. Daehyun stared at the message in horror. You are destroying everything. The order we built. The peace we maintained. You built a prison and called it peace, Taemin replied. We are just opening the doors. He boarded the ship with the others. The hangar doors opened despite Subin's attempts to keep them sealed. The small vessel lifted smoothly and flew out into space. Within seconds, it activated some kind of advanced stealth system and vanished from all sensors. Hyunwoo stood at the hangar entrance, watching it disappear. He found a data chip on the control panel near where Taemin had stood. When he inserted it into a reader, a message appeared. You seem different from the others. You listened. You questioned. That is good. Your people need more like you. Tell your council that humanity is done being small. Tell them the fire spreads. And tell them that they created us. They made us into what we are by trying to keep us down. Now they will see what happens when you scatter fire instead of putting it out. It does not go away. It just spreads everywhere. Hyunwoo looked at the message for a long time. Then he made a choice. He did not report the data chip, he kept it. Because somewhere deep inside he was starting to believe that maybe the burned ones were right. 3 days passed aboard the Eternal Judgment. Taemin remained awake in his containment pod, but he refused to speak another word. The Velthara tried everything they could think of. They offered him better conditions. They threatened him with torture. They played recordings of human colonies and suggested those places might have accidents. Nothing worked. The human just sat quietly, breathing slowly, his eyes sometimes open and sometimes closed. Daehyun grew more frustrated with each passing hour. The Galactic Council was demanding answers. How had one human destroyed a military base? What technology did humanity possess that the collective did not know about? Were there more humans like this one? The questions poured in, but Daehyun had no answers to give. On the 4th day, a new researcher arrived on the ship. His name was Hyunwoo, and he was different from the others. Most Velthara who studied alien species looked down on younger races with barely hidden disgust, but Hyunwoo had spent his entire career trying to understand them. He specialized in dead languages and lost cultures. He had written papers arguing that the collective's treatment of younger species was too harsh. These papers had not made him popular with his people. When Hyunwoo entered the detention level, he carried a bag full of different scanning equipment. This equipment was not military grade. These were tools used by archaeologists and historians, designed to be gentle and thorough rather than fast and forceful. I want to try something different, Hyunwoo said to Daehyun. Give me 1 hour alone with him. Daehyun crossed his arms. Every expert we have has failed. What makes you think you will succeed? Because I am not trying to interrogate him. I am trying to read him. Explain. Hyunwoo pointed at the prisoner through the glass. Look at those patterns. Everyone keeps calling them tattoos or markings. But what if they are text? What if his entire body is covered in writing and we have just been using the wrong tools to translate it? Daehyun considered this. After 3 days of failure, he was willing to try anything. 1 hour. But guards stay outside the door. Hyunwoo entered the containment room alone. The energy field between him and the prisoner hummed with power. Taemin's eyes opened as the Velthara researcher approached. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. I am not here to hurt you, Hyunwoo said in human English. His accent was perfect. I study languages. I study cultures. I want to understand what your skin is trying to tell us. Taemin tilted his head slightly. Why should I help you? Because I think you want us to know. I think that is why you are here. If you wanted to stay hidden, you would not have let yourself be captured. You are trying to send a message and I want to read it. The human stared at him for what felt like a very long time. Then slowly he nodded once. Hyunwoo set up his equipment carefully. Instead of the harsh military scanners that blasted the prisoner with radiation, these machines sent out gentle pulses of light across many different frequencies. They were designed to detect faded writing on ancient stones and old documents. They could see things that aggressive scans would miss. As Hyunwoo activated the first scanner, something remarkable happened. The patterns on Taemin's skin began to respond to the light. They separated into layers. What had looked like random designs suddenly showed structure. Lines of text appeared, floating in the air above the prisoner's body as holographic projections. Hyunwoo's breath caught in his throat. The translator device in his ear began working frantically, trying to make sense of what it was seeing. And then words started appearing. Names, thousands and thousands of names. Kim So-ra, died protecting colony ship Horizon. Park Ji-ho, killed defending Memphis Station. Lee Min-jung, executed for refusing collective conscription. The names went on and on, covering every inch of skin. Between the names were dates, locations, brief descriptions of how each person died. Hyunwoo felt something cold settle in his stomach as he realized what he was looking at. This was not decoration. This was a memorial. The human's entire body was covered in the names of dead people. But there was more. His scanner picked up deeper layers of information hidden beneath the names. Mathematical formulas that looked incredibly advanced, star charts showing locations throughout the galaxy, tactical data about Velthara military installations, technical specifications for weapons and shields. This human was walking around with a library of stolen secrets embedded in his flesh. How is this possible? Hyunwoo whispered. How can all of this information exist on your skin? We learned from the best, Taemin said quietly. We studied you for a long time. We stole your technology bit by bit. We reverse-engineered everything we could. And we created this. A way to carry information that your standard scanners cannot detect. A way to remember everyone we lost. Hyunwoo adjusted his scanner to focus on Taemin's chest where the patterns seemed most dense. As the image resolved, new words appeared in the air, larger than all the others. The translator worked for a moment, then displayed the text clearly. Carried fire against gods. What does this mean? Hyunwoo asked. What fire? What gods? Taemin leaned forward as much as the containment pod would allow. You really do not know, do you? Your people truly believe you are the shepherds, the protectors, the wise ones guiding younger species. We are, Hyunwoo said, but his voice was uncertain. The collective maintains peace across the galaxy. We prevent wars. We stop younger species from destroying themselves with dangerous technology before they are ready. Is that what you call it? Taemin's voice was soft but filled with pain. Let me tell you what we call it. We call it oppression. We call it control. We call it living in a cage. And these names on my skin? These are the people who died because they dared to ask for freedom. Hyunwoo stepped back from the scanner. I do not understand. The collective has never killed humans. We have restrictions, yes, but they are for your protection. Seoul Station, Taemin said. The words came out like stones dropping into water. Does that name mean anything to you? Hyunwoo searched his memory. There was an accident at a human space station called Seoul, 60 years ago. A reactor failure killed everyone aboard. There was no reactor failure. Taemin's hands clenched into fists. Seoul Station was a research facility. Human scientists there discovered something important. They found a way to generate power that would have made your collective's monopoly on advanced technology meaningless. They were going to share it with everyone, with all the species you keep suppressed, so your collective sent ships. They sterilized the entire station. 50,000 people died, men, women, children, and then your historians wrote in their reports that it was an accident. That cannot be true, Hyunwoo said, but his voice shook. We would not do that. Your people did it. Your collective ordered it. And Seoul Station was not the first time. It was just the worst time. The time that made us stop asking politely for freedom and start taking it by force. Taemin gestured to the patterns on his skin. Every name here is someone who died fighting your empire. And this phrase across my chest? It means we carried fire into battle against beings who thought themselves gods. We carried the fire of resistance, of rebellion, of refusing to kneel. Hyunwoo sat down heavily on the floor. His scanner continued displaying information, showing more names, more dates, more deaths. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. A secret war that had been going on for decades and the collective had never reported it. Or perhaps they had known and simply hidden it from their own people. How many? Hyunwoo asked quietly. How many humans are marked like you? Taemin smiled that dangerous smile again. Enough, more than enough. We call ourselves the burned ones. We brand our skin with fire and memory. We carry the names of those we lost. And we have been preparing for a very long time. Preparing for what? For the day when we stop hiding. For the day when we show your collective that humanity will not be small anymore. Hyunwoo looked at the human prisoner, at the thousands of names covering his body, at the secret data hidden in his flesh, and he realized that everything he had believed about his people might be a lie. 6 months passed. The galaxy changed in ways the Velthara collective had never imagined possible. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the 15th time. Representatives from hundreds of species crowded the massive chamber, their voices rising in anger and confusion. The council leader, an ancient Velthara named Boram, tried to maintain order but was failing. 37 of our facilities have been destroyed, one representative shouted. Military bases, research stations, administrative centers, all gone. 12 restricted species have received advanced technology, another added. We do not know how, but they now possess weapons and ships they should not have for another 1,000 years. 4 elder races have discovered their true histories. A third said quietly. Records we sealed millennia ago have been unsealed. They know what we did to them when they were young. They are not happy. Boram raised his hands for silence. We are dealing with an organized rebellion. The humans are at its center, but they are not alone. They have recruited allies from dozens of species. They call themselves different names in different languages, but the meaning is always the same. The fire carriers, the burned ones, those who remember. Then we must crush them, Daehyun said from his seat. He had been called to testify about the prisoner escape. His career was ruined, but he still attended council sessions. We must send our full fleets to Earth. We must show them the price of rebellion. Hyunwoo stood up. He had been quiet during most of the session, but now he spoke. I do not think you understand what we are facing. This is not a military problem. This is an idea, and ideas do not die when you shoot them. Explain yourself, Boram commanded. Hyunwoo activated a display that showed star charts. Red marks indicated incidents over the past 6 months. They were scattered across multiple galaxies, seemingly random, but when he overlaid data about suppressed species and collective control points, a pattern emerged. The attacks were all designed to free other species or expose collective secrets. They are not trying to conquer anything, Hyunwoo said. They are not trying to destroy us. They are trying to wake up the galaxy. Every species they contact, they offer the same thing: choice, freedom, the truth about the collective's history. And those species are choosing to join them. Then we make an example, Daehyun insisted. We show what happens to rebels. We already did that, Hyunwoo replied softly. Seoul Station, Pioneer Colony, Memphis Station, all the others. We have been making examples for centuries. And all it did was create more rebels. The burned ones exist because we tried to silence them with violence. If we escalate now, we will only spread their message faster. So what do you suggest? Boram asked. That we negotiate? That we give in to their demands? I suggest we consider that maybe we were wrong, Hyunwoo said. The chamber went silent. It was unthinkable for a Velthara to suggest the collective had made mistakes. We have ruled for so long that we forgot why we started. We were supposed to help younger species. Somewhere along the way, we decided that helping them meant controlling them. We convinced ourselves that we knew better than they did about their own lives. One of the elder representatives stood up angrily. You dare suggest that we abandon our sacred duty? That we let chaos reign? I suggest that maybe chaos is preferable to a cage, Hyunwoo said. And that maybe the galaxy is ready to choose for itself. The council erupted in argument. Some agreed with Daehyun that force was necessary. Others supported Hyunwoo's call for change. Still others wanted to find a middle path. While they argued, the galaxy kept changing around them. On a human colony world called New Busan, a different kind of meeting was taking place. The settlement was small, only 20,000 people, but it had become something important. It was a gathering place for the burned ones and their allies. Taemin stood in a large hall that had been built for this purpose. Around him were representatives from 6 different species. Not just humans, but Kral warriors, Vesh crystals, and others. All of them bore markings on their bodies similar to Taemin's patterns. The marks were adapted to each species, but they all carried the same thing. Names, memories, the stories of those who had died fighting for freedom. A young human woman named Jiwoo stood beside Taemin. She was 19 years old and her skin was newly marked with patterns. Her training had just finished. She would be leaving soon on her first mission. I am scared, she admitted. The collective is so powerful. How can we possibly win against them? Taemin looked at her kindly. He remembered being young and scared. He remembered Seoul Station. He remembered thinking that the Velthara were invincible gods that could never be challenged. We are not trying to win a war, he told her. We are trying to spread an idea. Every person we free, every truth we reveal, every choice we give to a suppressed species, that is a victory. The collective is strong because most people believe they have to be obeyed. Once that belief dies, their power dies with it. But what happens when they come with everything they have? Jiwoo asked. What happens when they decide to destroy us completely? The Kral warrior, whose name translated roughly to sharp strike, clicked his mandibles. Then we show them what happens when you try to extinguish fire by scattering it. You do not put it out. You spread it everywhere. The others nodded in agreement. They had all learned this lesson. The collective's attempts to silence rebellion only created more rebels. Violence only proved that the system was built on force rather than consent. Every attack made more people question. Every revelation made more species angry. Taemin walked to a window and looked out at the settlement. Ships were coming and going constantly. Some brought supplies. Others brought refugees from species that had finally broken free from collective control. Still others brought information, stolen from Velthara databases and shared freely. "We have already won in the way that matters most," Taemin said. "The collective used to keep secrets easily. They used to control information. They used to make entire species disappear without anyone noticing. They cannot do that anymore. The galaxy is watching now. Every action they take is recorded and shared. Every lie is exposed. They are still powerful, but they are no longer invisible. And power without mystery is just force. Force can be resisted." He turned back to Jiwoo. "When you go on your mission, remember what is on your skin. Remember the names. Remember why we do this. We do not fight because we hate the Velthara. We fight because we love the people they killed. We fight because freedom matters. We fight because every species deserves the right to make their own choices, even if those choices lead to mistakes." "Carried fire against gods," Jiwoo said, reading the words on Taemin's chest. "We carried fire against gods," he agreed. "And the fire is spreading." Across the galaxy, that fire was indeed spreading. On hundreds of worlds, species that had lived under collective control for centuries were starting to question, starting to resist, starting to demand answers about their histories and their rights. The Velthara could not fight them all. They could not silence everyone. The more they tried, the more resistance grew. Some Velthara, like Hyunwoo, were starting to change their minds. They were beginning to see their own history more clearly. They were beginning to understand that protection and imprisonment were not the same thing. These Velthara were few, but their numbers grew each day. In his quarters on a collective diplomatic vessel, Hyunwoo made a decision. He had been thinking about it for months. He had been struggling with his loyalty to his people, and his growing belief that the burned ones were right. Finally, he knew what he had to do. He composed a message. It was encrypted with codes that Taemin had left behind on the data chip. The message was simple. "I am a Velthara. I have served the collective my entire life. I believed we were doing good. I believed we were helping. But I have learned the truth about Soul Station and many other incidents. I have learned what we really are. We are not shepherds. We are jailers. I cannot serve this system anymore. I want to help tear it down. If you will accept me, I wish to join you. One of the architects wants to help burn it down. How do I join?" He sent the message to the coordinates that had been broadcast from the Eternal Judgment. Then he waited. 3 days later, a reply came. Just 3 words. "New Busan, come home." Hyunwoo looked at those words for a long time. Come home, as if he belonged there, as if a Velthara could be welcomed among those his people had oppressed. He did not know if it was true, but he was willing to find out. He erased his security clearance. He destroyed his access codes. He took only what he could carry and left the ship at the next port. Within a week, he was on a transport heading for New Busan in the Great Council Chamber. Borum received reports of another defection. A researcher named Hyunwoo had abandoned his post and disappeared. It was the 43rd Velthara to defect in 6 months. Not many, but enough to be worrying. The fire carriers were not just recruiting from suppressed species. They were converting some of the oppressors themselves. "The situation is deteriorating," Boram announced to the council. "We must make a decision. Do we escalate with military force or do we attempt diplomacy?" The council argued for hours. In the end, they could not agree. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to maintain the old system. Some wanted to change it.